folks, we are back, and you are listening to America's Voice Now. We are joined this morning by Jo and Denise Dixon. They are the owners of Morningland Dairy, which has recently been eviscerated, basically, by a group, a whole series. Exterminated, I think is even a better word. Yeah, thanks, Jo. By a series of really unaccountable agencies based on the premise that they manufactured this raw milk cheese, and we all know, because there's a whole series of dairies that are being persecuted, I should say, around the nation for this type of thing. So I think Bob Parker has joined us on the phone. Good morning, Bob. You were there yesterday too, were you not?
I sure was, Mike. Good to be with you this morning, and good morning to Jo and Denise, and my heart goes out to you guys. And with what's happened to your lives, as you know, I went to your court hearings in West Plains and have followed your case, and our organization, the Property Rights Coalition, has done everything we can. Denise, Dorian Haas has done a tremendous amount of work exposing
what's happened in your
situation. Yeah, she's just done a fantastic job. And, I've been in production agriculture most of my life, dairied for years, and I just understand so well the helplessness that you feel with these agencies, and I just share your frustration with our elected officials. They just refuse to get involved and do anything with these agencies that are really just ripping the heart out of rural America. I mean, and we're out here with really no cover. The shields are down on rural America, our jobs, our livelihood, our farmers. These agencies, one after another, are able to do just about anything they want with no accountability. The courts are set up to give them cover, and really, if we don't start putting people into office and people joining together and standing up against this absolute outrage that's taken place in so many different cases like yours, what are we going to do?
It's up to the Sheriff's Department also to become constitutional again. And I think the two people that were there yesterday, two that I talked to from the Sheriff's Department, we talked for quite some time, and they started saying, well, we understand more now what's going on. Right. And I asked everybody there to be very peaceable.
Right, you bet.
And everything, and they said they appreciated that very much because they understood we're just wanting our rights to choose, our freedoms that we are supposed to have under God.
That God and nature have given us.
That is correct.
Just by virtue of the fact that we are able to fog a mirror.
Not state given civil rights or federally given civil rights.
Well, and, the real outrage to me, Joe, is you never had a jury trial. I mean, you had these a judge paid by the state to determine your case, to support the interests of the state. Yes. And that's exactly what our founders wanted to get away from. They wanted us to have a jury of our peers, and you were denied that.
Bob, you brought up a good point, and I just want to make a note here, Joe, and I don't mean to cut you off, but this is an important one. Under administrative rulings, you are not entitled to a jury trial.
So the question I have is, Mike, where does that come from?
That comes from the American Procedures Act, the APA, which is the governing document, which is about 4 inches thick, behind the administrative procedures that these agencies unaccountably set up. And as a result, one of the aspects of it is that when you are persecuted/prosecuted by these agencies, you do not have the right to a jury trial that you would have if you were being, sued civilly and or sued or charged criminally.
So in other words, what they've done, they've
eviscerated the jury system, which is the exact definition of Americans protecting other Americans from government overreach.
Well, in other words, they brought in tyranny again.
Hey, listen, that word should be hanging over this entire conversation like the sword of Damocles.
and that's exactly my point. I mean, they passed laws that are unconstitutional. Our founders never envisioned that there would be this alphabet soup of agencies out there that could basically do anything that they want, destroy people's lives
with impunity.
With impunity and have no accountability to the people. And, that should be changed. To have the government come in and do what they did to Jo and Denise without any opportunity to be heard by a jury of our peers is absolutely wrong and needs to be changed.
They traded judges 2 working days before court.
Yeah.
They brought in another witness without us being able to even do a deposition 2 to 3 days before court.
Sure. So the entire process, by saying, well, we took it to court and we won, is a sham, because they set it up so that you can't possibly win as a defendant, right?
That is correct.
And you are called a defendant in this prosecution. I mean, I'm looking right here, and it says defendant. Now, and the judge refers to you as a defendant a number of times. And I have to say, if you're a defendant, then according to our Constitution, you're entitled to a jury to actually hear that. Not just a judge who can make a decision and a biased decision from a bench where he has, no ability, or where you have no ability to actually plead your case to a group of your peers who could say, you know what, we think you guys are being a little heavy-handed on these folks, and we're going to tell you right now they're not guilty, back off. They've got a right to test their cheese, toss out what's bad, keep what's good, and move on.
And that's all we ask for.
Right? And that's all everybody's asked for.
Yes.
And of course, by stripping you of your right to a jury trial, and by utilizing a system which is set up to win for them every time, no matter what the circumstances are.
Where is it that the Attorney General's office, doesn't the Attorney General have to swear a oath to obey the Constitution?
Yes,
well, they all swore an oath. I mean, all the officers standing there yesterday, you could read them right out of the Constitution where it says we get a jury trial, right in the Constitution, but yet they would stand there. It wouldn't change anything. They would stand there with their guns and continue to allow this unconstitutional action to take place.
Well,
it's just...
I believe the whole telling picture was the end of what happened there. My wife and I are not going to die. We are not going to disappear. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to speak out. Okay? The whole telling picture was the milk board there in bare hands and just regular gloves, regular work clothes, putting it into a dumpster to go to a landfill, letting people, with them watching, and the State Patrol watching, and the Sheriff's Department watching, play with the cheese that was in the dumpster, and a child standing there playing with the cheese in the dumpster with open packages. That's the true telling story of a conspiracy.
Right. If this was really as hazardous a material as they say it was, then they should have been protected themselves and protecting the public from whatever contamination they could get from being in contact with it. And that's a great point.
Well, yesterday was a very sad day in Missouri.
Yes, it
was.
was.
What happened on their farm.
And there's another dairy thereafter, by the way. Does anybody know the name of that dairy?
No.
There's another dairy thereafter for the same exact thing. They're a raw milk dairy, and they're out there hammering them into dust right now as well. And so what we need is our legislators. We need Mike Cunningham and Robert Ross and Sean Rhodes and guys like Bob Parker to be able to, get a hold of these agencies and rein them in, either by threatening to restrict their power and or making legislative changes immediately now so that these folks have some protection against, a government on the edge of tyranny.
One thing we found out was the FDA, which the State Milk Board says now they obey all rules and regulations of the FDA. The FDA states they have a zero tolerance for 4 pathogens. One of them is Listeria, E. coli. What's the other 2? Do you know? Salmonella.
I'm not sure.
But anyway, there's no such thing as zero. Don Falls told us himself time after time after time, if we look hard enough, we'll find what we're looking for anywhere.
Right. And that's the problem.
There's no such thing as a zero tolerance.
It's like the old adage that you can indict a ham sandwich because the prosecutor's the only one who gets to talk to the grand jury, so he can make you look as bad as he wants, and you don't even have a chance to say, wait a minute, that's not true. So, the grand jury always comes back and says, yep, indict him, because they only hear one side of the story. And, yourself, you could make a story look terrible if you just, put the right bias on it. We're going to take a break in just a minute. And, Bob, I want to thank you for visiting yesterday and putting your support behind these folks. That speaks well, by the way, folks, for Bob Parker in this upcoming, House race that's out there right now. You have an opportunity to make some phone calls to the chairman and the vice chairman of your local district committee that's going to be voting for our new representative to replace Jo Ann Emerson, and I would encourage you to make a call to your individuals and put a push on to make sure that they're going to vote for Parker.
Mike, I'd just like to quickly say I don't make a lot of promises other than upholding the Constitution and those kinds of things, but if I'm elected to that position, I'll do everything I can to rectify this situation.
I hear you there, and that's the kind of thing that we need and expect from a guy or a girl who's going to go to Washington to fight on our behalf, not to sit there and toe the party line, you know.
Yes.
Hey, Bob, thanks so much. I appreciate you, bud.
Thanks so much, guys.
God bless you. Have a great day.